My name is Aaron Ladd, host of the Chief Squad Show here in the Locked On Podcast Network, and I know just the player to help KC make a late season push. Recently cut by his team. He's a little airheaded, but he's a big locker room presence and might help KC hop over some teams in the standings. Let's bring the positivity bunny from Philadelphia to Arrowhead ASAP. We preview Chiefs Chargers in tonight's episode.
And I'm JC Pearson. Even though Noah Williams came in and played well in place of Trent McDuffie last week, they need Trent McDuffie to play in some capacity this week, even if it's just on nickel situations.
I'm Ryan Tracy, and I want to know, can this team actually put it together and make a late season run, whether it's pride or playoffs? Doesn't matter to me. I need to see it.
And I'm Darren Smith. Shout out to JC Pearson, who was never afraid to talk to the media after a loss when it came to talking to me post game.
Chiefs Kingdom, stand up. It's the Chiefs Squad. Everything Kansas City Chiefs every week. Breaking down all the big hits and game-changing plays from Arrowhead Stadium, the way only the Locked On Podcast Network can. Squad up. The Chiefs Squad Show starts now.
The Chief Squad Show is off and running in the midweek. We appreciate this. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. If you want to be right in the middle of the action this season, visit FanDuel.com and place your NFL live bets all season long. Kansas City is 6-7. They need to win out the rest of the way. We'll preview the playoff path as slim and narrow as it is, the lessons learned from Houston loss, and we will also look at the Los Angeles Chargers, some injuries for both teams, as well as that late season surge. Can Kansas City make it, whether it's pride or playoffs? Please remember, like, comment, subscribe. I want to thank our everydayers who make each and every Locked On show their first listen. Hit that hype button. Anything you can do to promote the channel, we greatly appreciate that here. Let's just hop right into it. I think the positivity bunny was cute. You know, it may not actually work, but clearly some teams are trying something. KC's going to try something after Houston. I think the biggest thing for me from Houston, and we could put a bow on it, that we talked about it a lot in our last episode. Ryan, you're back in with us on the midweek, so I definitely want to get your opinion on this one. Asapolei against Daniil Hunter was a huge win for KC. Maybe they found something. See, there's been a lot of changes and some injuries along the offensive line. We're talking lessons learned from Houston. In my opinion, we learned that Asapolei can factor into this offensive line, not only this year, but potentially down the road as well.
From my personal standpoint, I didn't learn this. It was confirmed for me because I said it in training camp. They should never let him go. Never put anybody purposely through having to go to the New York Jets, okay? Should have saved the kid a little bit. Let's do that for him next time. But I agree. I think this puts him in a better spot to not only have depth right now when they actually need it, but to have more choices come the offseason. And I think that's going to be important as we move forward. There was a team a couple of years ago that had made a big splash in the first round and ended up getting a tackle out of the same class. It hasn't really worked out for Seattle the way they thought, but it may end up working out that way for the Chiefs.
And I think just, from a personnel standpoint, from here on out, they're going to see what they can learn about some of these young guys. Noah Williams stepped in at corner when Trent went down and played well, and did very well. So I think the rest of the way, that's what they're going to be looking at. Obviously they want to win these games and see if they can sneak in. I don't think from a team standpoint, they didn't learn anything because it's the same old mistakes. They already know what they need to do to correct those. So I think from here on out, they're going to be looking at some of these young guys and seeing factor in on this roster going forward.
And look, I'll keep it simple. I mean, I believe in the next man up mentality that they've always had over the years. And so it's not surprising to me because for me, my X factor going into this game was Andy Heck in the offensive line, because we didn't know what type of makeshift offensive line they were going to have to deal with. And for them to, they gave up 2 or 3 sacks in that game, but the fact that, especially for Asa, to come in essentially at the last minute to play the way he did, to be coached up that way, I'm not surprised. I'm thoroughly impressed.
More numbers on. This is from my former coworker, Nick Jacobs. Shout out if you're listening. Polei against Daniil Hunter, 1 pressure on 21 matchups. That pressure was after 4.2 seconds. We know Mahomes likes to scramble around. Polei was the first tackle to face Hunter more than 20 times and allow 1 or fewer per next gen stats. Larger than that, outside of Polei and other things we learned, there were mistakes in all three phases. Special teams was a missed field goal. Offense obviously didn't put their best performance out on tape, and defense as well. I think maybe one thing we can say we learned is this team is extremely flawed. This team, it's not just one issue. It's not just one Band-Aid that you can put on one phase and possibly fix what's going on and what's been wrong this year. There's been, and I think, Ryan, you're the one that said this for every day. There's a couple episodes back. There's a lot of holes on the ship. You're running out of thumbs to plug the holes. And we're going to talk about slim playoff chances here in a moment, but I think it's going to take something short of a major miracle to try and plug all the holes and issues that they've showed us, not only in that Houston matchup, but against teams that are ahead of them in the AFC standings.
I agree, but I also think that you're in that situation, and that's what I think we'll talk about later is how do they react to that situation? Because you gotta tear apart some furniture and plug the holes in the ship, right? Like you got to come up with some patches. The answers have to be on this roster at this point. Maybe there was a little bit of addition you could do, but for the most part, you got to fix what's here. And that takes what this team hasn't had to go through in quite a while, which is looking in the mirror and saying, we're not getting it done. How do we flip that switch? And can they? That's what this week's all about.
Yeah, this weekend and all the remaining weeks is this. Yeah, I mean, they've got no other, one more hole and the ship is sunk, for this year. So they've, they're treading water right now and bailing water out the boat. But, again, like I said earlier, they know the mistakes that they've made. They just got to clean them up. And we've been saying it for a long time now. If they can get them clean, they'll be okay. But they just haven't been able to all be on the same page and perform at the same time like we're used to seeing them do.
It's a sad state of affairs. Usually around Christmas time in KC, vibes are a little higher. They're looking at the playoff path and people are buying their playoff tickets and they're matching out where they want to go, and kids are getting their jerseys for Christmas and everything's exciting. Imagine a kid getting a Hollywood Brown jersey for Christmas this year. You're not as excited as you were in the past.
Just like you funny. You funny.
Well, you have to throw that one
up
out
all week, haven't you?
You had to still be happy getting a few of the jerseys. You didn't have to throw that one out.
Hollywood Brown, boy.
I'm like a Mahomes jersey. He'll still. The kids will still like those.
You give them the Chiefs tickets this year, and they're like, "Oh, do we have to go?"
What's the weather going to be? What's the weather going to be that day?
Right. How cold is it?
Yep.
I think the Houston loss also told us that Houston was the team above them. They could jump and move around. It was the team that is closest with them, neck and neck. KC is exactly where they need to be. I think for a couple weeks in this season, we were like, "Oh, they're better than this. They can flip that switch." I've even heard that term tonight. I have I have extreme doubts that the switch can be flipped at this point in time. And at this point, you should have flipped it a couple of times and gone out to the switchboard and tried to do something. Like, it's just not working.
They're still trying to find it. Mahomes knows where that's at, and I can't really say that of anybody else, except I will say that Chris Jones showed up to that Houston game ready to elevate not just his own play, but the rest of his team around him. My question is, where have you been? Where's this performance been?
Now, when I say that, everybody think I'm hating on Chris. But, but you've been asking the same question I've been asking the last month and a half. Like, he's been, he's been on the milk cart. George Karlaftis as well. They both showed up Sunday. They both got sacks. They both, put pressure on. It was actually, as we mentioned post game, it was the offense and special teams that let the defense down this time. And the defense really came on the second half of the game. If we're being totally honest, but they played well enough to put Kansas City in position to win the game and put themselves in the lead. But some questionable play calling, and of course, the offense just dropping passes. Mahomes, just inaccurate a couple of times, just put themselves in a situation that they just couldn't climb themselves out of.
Yeah, and I still think with all of that being said, man, that fourth down call is the one that killed him. That's and Andy acknowledged.
I disagree.
Yeah, that one killed him, because if you punt that ball away and play field position, make them have to drive the ball. I think you got a great chance to win that game. because, I mean, the defense was playing well in the second half. Like Darren just said, you give them the ball on the 31-yard line. What are you going to do? But if
you disagree, Aaron, why do you disagree?
Yeah.
And I said this in the preview episode leading up to that Houston game. These are playoff games. You've been playing playoff games for the last few weeks, and you're playing them the rest of the way.
I've been saying they've been in the playoff. They should be in the playoff mode 2 months ago.
Your mentality is why they lost.
Give your offense 4 downs to get first down. Now, I said in the chat right after it happened, I did a little bit of play call. They lost. I want the hunt bunt, I think is what people are calling it now. Give Kareem Hunt in the I formation and just let him plunge ahead if that's their version of the tush push. But I like the aggressive Andy. I like the aggressiveness on offense. If they're gonna make this push and this surge, and we're talking about them winning out the rest of the way, they've got to find their offensive identity. And
the
now,
aggression wasn't the problem, though, Aaron. The aggression wasn't the problem. It was the play call and the execution that was the problem. I don't have a problem with they could go forward 4th and 1 on their own 1 yard line if they so choose to, but you got to call the right play. You can't have you only need a yard, damn near really half a yard, but Patrick is dropping back to pass. So instead of you just plunging for to get 1 yard, now you're dropping back 6-7 yards, hoping to pass the ball, and it wasn't good. It wasn't a good call.
I gotta agree.
Of desperation.
I disagree. They've been solid in those 4th and short situations all year. My problem is you've been solid because you've been running the ball. So why you change it up? Do what you've been good at. Do what got you here. I know there's a predictability factor you have to build into it, but that's on your own line to move the guys out of the way. I still think even at 1.5 yards, you run anything with Kareem, he's going to find a way to go get that first down.
And I want to give some kudos to Isaiah Pacheco as well. I've been rough on him a couple episodes. I wasn't expecting much in his return. He had 30 yards last week, has 50 scrimmage yards and 3 of his past 4 at home. He's brought some juice. He's shown that energy. I mean, we've been begging who's going to be that other guy in the running back room. Obviously, Bashard Smith, and they brought on Damian Pearson. I thought it was interesting. Andy today at the podium was asked if maybe this is the week that Pierce finally goes, and still was hesitant. Said that he's still learning the system. It sounds like that still is going to take another week or so. I thought Pop has given you something. We've been begging for creativity, and specifically in the run game, short yardage. You should see some of that creativity. You should
Pop
see some of the.
I feel you. I get his energy. Me and Stevie have this argument all the time, but Pop gives you a lot of when it's 1st and 10, a lot of 1 yard dives. And we saw that Sunday, like. The line, the hole will be wide open, and he run right in the back of the lineman for some reason, and good for 1 yard. I mean, I'm not seeing what you're seeing, and maybe they got to clean the windows up in the press box, but I'm not seeing what you're seeing because he's getting a lot of 1 yard runs, and that's contributing to a lot of 2nd and 3rd and longs right now.
They've been behind the chains too much, and whether you want to call that coaching, whether you want to call it execution, whether you want to say Pat's freestyling too much, I think it's because they all know what's at stake right now. And 1 or 2 bad plays and a flag, that kind of sandbags them for 2 and 3 drives at this point in the year, which is crazy. I would never imagine a Chiefs team that would just be slogged down so much. We're talking about them scoring 10 points. I know Houston's got a great defense, one of the best in the league. When I got 15, I'm expecting more than 10.
Yeah, I think they need to get Juju some more plays, just because he's a sure-handed guy, tough guy, physical, block, make the tough catch. He's not going to beat you down the field, but he's going to keep the chains moving. And, we've seen how, having the fastest guys on the team on the field and running down the field, we see how that's worked out this year. We need some guys that can move the chains, and Juju's one of those guys, and I think he needs to get some more reps.
I like Juju in this one.
Go ahead, Ryan. I'm sorry.
I didn't mean to cut you off. I just want to go back to Rashard real quick. I agree about Juju, but I went back and I pulled up the one play. It was a good design. They put 2 backs in the backfield. They pitch it to him, which I think is something that's been missing from this offense. They've pretty much gotten 5 yards of carry on every pitch they've run this year, yet they give him 1, he gets 7, and they never go back to him. This is the problem. He is there for the usage. They're just not willing to use him.
And I was going to follow up with that is that, we talk about Damian Pierce, and people got mad at me when they kept trying to get Brees Hall. I'm like, they're not going to trade for him. They're not going to get him because they always felt like they were good for what they had. And even when you bring in Damian Pierce with Andy, with what Andy said today, it just makes you scratch your head because now you're going to have another running back that's getting a salary, that's getting a contract from the Chiefs that you're not paying. It's not benefiting you. I mean, again, you get, you bring up Clyde to the active roster for a couple of weeks. He gets you maybe 5 yards total, the 2 or 3 games that he's played. You bring Elijah Mitchell up once, I think, and I mean, and you paid him $3.5 million. I'm still trying to figure out, if I need to call Brett Veach, text him, see what I got to do to get a contract or something, just so I can just be on the roster. If you're not, I mean, if you're gonna pay people to not perform and not play for you, I mean, hell, I could use it.
I think your ties to Vegas disqualify you, Darren Smith. We're going to take our first first break here on the Chief Squad Show. When we come back, we'll discuss Kansas City's playoff path. You're listening to the Chief Squad Show on the Locked On Podcast Network. There's no reason to let big wireless drain your wallet, especially during the holidays. Right now, Mint Mobile is running their best deal of the year. All of their unlimited plans are 50% off. That means you can lock in 3, 6, or even 12 months of unlimited premium wireless for just $15 a month. It's the easiest way to take your overpriced phone bill and give it the full Scrooge. No nonsense, just real savings and real quality service. Switching to Mint lets you keep your same coverage for a lower price. Setup takes only a few minutes. You can bring your own phone and number without any issues. The service is fast and super reliable, even on the go. Turn your expensive wireless plan into a huge wireless savings future by switching to Mint. Shop Mint Unlimited plans at mintmobile.com/LockedOnNFL. That's mintmobile.com/LockedOnNFL. This is a limited time offer. Upfront payment of $45 for 3 months, $90 for 6 months, and $180 for 12-month plan required. Taxes and fees, initial plan term only. More than 35 gigabyte may slow. The network is busy. Capable device is required. Availability, speed, and coverage vary. See mintmobile.com. Back in on the Chief Squad Show in the midweek, Aaron Ladd, JC Pearson, Ryan Tracy, and Darren Smith saying that Kansas City still has a chance to sneak into the playoffs. Now, I haven't done all the possibilities, but I do have one notable one in front of me that we will dissect. And it includes, of course, all of them include Kansas City winning their remaining 4 games. They would also need the Chargers to lose 3 of their last 4 versus the AFC. The Indianapolis Colts, led by Uncle Phil, losing 2 of their final 4, one of those against the AFC, and at least 1 loss from the Baltimore Ravens. I have a couple questions for y'all. The first one will be, and I'll toss it to JC, who I think is our resident homer. Do you think that could happen? You believe in this? I think 11%. I think 11% is what the odds are.
So you're saying there's a chance? Right. If there's a chance, there's a chance. But I mean, you look at it. I mean, first of all, the biggest thing is you got to win out, right? You got to win out. The rest of it is possible. It's possible. I mean, you look at the Chargers schedule, obviously you got to beat them, and that's one of their losses. Houston easily they will lose another one. Baltimore definitely will. And so, you're looking at the Chargers now and I forgot, I looked at their schedule earlier, but it's possible. But
I think they played the Houston Texans too. I think they played the Houston Texans the day after Christmas, I believe.
So, I mean, but the thing is, you got to get your own ship right, as Ryan would say, and win out. If you don't do that, you don't want to be in this situation where you have to rely on other people, first of all. But you are, so you got to take care of your own business. But they've been saying that for weeks now, and they're still here. So we'll see if they can do that part first, because without that, nothing else matters anyway. How's that for the resident homer? Homeboy.
That's what I have the least amount of faith in, JC. I mean, if you tell me that everything else comes true, I can't guarantee you that KC wins their next 4. I really can't.
Well, I mean, we can't either at this point. You still got Denver on the schedule, right? And the Chargers, but we'll see. So it's going to be tough, but that's the toughest. That's going to be the toughest of those scenarios. Obviously, you got to win all four.
Shout out to what that last lower third said, because that's all we do is speak the truth about the Chiefs. But I mean, I'm with JC. I mean, the problem is that the Chiefs. The problem is that the Chiefs did this to themselves, because they should have won last week's game against Denver. They should have beat Denver when they had the chance. For me, everything just went by the wayside when they left their superpowers on the bus in Buffalo. Ever since they played Buffalo, this has not been the same team that we recognized this season. I mean, yes, they had a nice win against Indianapolis where they came back from behind, but again, they put themselves in situations where you shouldn't even be in that predicament. And so, for me, everything has gone downhill since Buffalo, and I mean, they got to start by winning what Sunday against the Chargers. But the problem is, they said the same thing last week going into the Houston game. And Houston has a greater defense than what the Chargers do. And some of the same problems that you had against Buffalo, trust and believe Justin Herbert is going to run. And he is actually starting to make me eat my words for the simple fact that he's starting to do things that you would expect a star player to do. He's playing with injuries. I mean, I think he has a fractured hand or whatever, but that's not stop. He's like, yeah, it hurts, but he's going to press on. I mean, you don't see a lot of players doing that kind of stuff. And so his team is going to follow him. I mean, he had the big run against the Eagles Monday night when they probably should have lost that game. And, but they dug deep and found a way to win. And so for me, I still like Kansas City. And I know we're going to talk about, I still like Kansas City in this game only because the Chargers, 20-degree weather, that might be our saving grace is the weather come Sunday.
There's a chance. There's always a chance. But you got to reach out. And if you're in this locker room, you got to be reaching out to your friends around the league, guys they're going to play these teams. Who's going to come at the Chargers? You got to get them guys motivated, whether they're really in it or not. Because in the end, these close games come down to motivation. They come down to execution, and that's got to be the edge. You can do what you can do, but that help is a problem. And I wish they weren't in this situation, but as JC said, it is what it is.
Yeah, they've been lucky for so many years, that injury bug so much, and then this year it's jumped up and bit them. But it is what it is, and like Darren was saying earlier, next man up. That's what they're saying in the locker room. So if you're on this roster, if you're second team, third team, whatever, you're always one play away from being a starter. So there's no excuse. You're expected to come in and perform.
My second question is, do we want this team to make the playoffs? At some point, we have to look forward and turn the page.
I mean,
I've mentioned this in weeks previous, but you got to rebuild and retool the roster at some point. There's holes there. There's guys that we don't think are playing their best. Y'all talked about the wide receiver unit. What benefit does it do you to try and make a late season push, win all four, and then somebody else wins and the scenarios don't fall your way, and then you just tank your draft stock? Realistically, wouldn't it make more sense to just lose this one, be out the rest of the way, evaluate your young guys, and see where you have to rebuild and retool to make the full push for the dynasty next year?
Aaron, I will say this, and this is not a cheap shot, but outside of running a marathon, did you ever play any sports? Because I've never heard someone.
He's a quitter. He's a quitter.
Athlete to quit, to lose.
No competitive spirit.
Yeah. I mean, without and then hope that you're on the team next year. That that you talk about doing the rebuilding stuff. And you can't do that.
When he got tired, I bet he started walking and everything. He didn't care. He didn't care what place he came in.
Aaron had his twin come and finish the rest of the race for him.
Stop it, man. No, come on, man.
That,
of course,
man.
You want to make the playoffs, and especially once you get in, you never know what can happen. It's not like this team is getting blown out by anybody, right? It a few plays here, a few plays there, and we're talking, AFC Championship again. So you never know what can happen once you get in the playoffs. Teams can have injuries. Teams can, who knows? So yes, you do want to try to get in there.
I can't even bet my money on you no more, Aaron.
Yeah.
Because you just gonna quit on me, man. I can't.
I'm not saying quit it. I'm just being realistic.
Is he
This
going to keep
team's
showing
not
up
winning
if they don't
championship
win anymore? We going to be waiting for him to bring us in, and he don't show up on the podcast no more.
Man.
This team is not a championship team. They might as well just, align themselves and get their ducks in a row for next year. I'm not saying the players should do that.
That's
I'm
been
asking
said
you
before,
all as
though.
media members.
And how many games has this team lost by this much that they shot themselves in the foot? They stopped doing that. You get into the dance, they could make a run. There's no reason Eli did it.
There's so much parity. So who do you think, Aaron, is the top teams in the AFC?
New England. The team that
not
hasn't
a
lost,
championship team.
The team that hasn't lost for what, 2 months now?
And ain't played nobody. Who else? Okay, who else?
There are no championship teams in the AFC right now outside of the Chiefs.
So you get in there, man, and you never know what can happen. So yes, Aaron, you do try to win.
Thank you, Ryan. Please throw me a buoy here.
But if you lose this one and you know you're out, that's a different story.
Then we can have that conversation.
Right.
And if it does go that way, there is a sunny side to that egg, because for somebody who covers the draft in depth every class, there is something nice about, a top 10 pick that I could package with something to get up into the top 5 and get a true elite talent to put next to Chris for a year to learn. Mr. Bain, do you hear me out there? Like that is the flip side of the coin. I'm not suggesting it, Mr. Aaron, but I'm just saying if it were to work out the other way, there's a sunny side to it in the long run.
Even if they miss the playoffs, they're not picking top 10 and second. And first of all, yes, I do want them to make the playoffs because selfishly, I enjoy my free trips to the Super Bowl. So forget you, Aaron. And second, I'm gonna go to the Super Bowl regardless. But I don't want to see another Cincinnati LA Rams type game. I won't. No. The Chiefs make it interesting. Even when they get blown out, they make it interesting. So, but here's the thing, man. Even for sake of this discussion, they don't make the playoffs. There's nothing on record that says that the Chiefs are going to hit it in the draft process as well. I mean, because to be honest, they can make their run, and essentially this team is going to be built off of Patrick Mahomes restructuring his contract, maybe Chris Jones or somebody else restructuring their contract, and bring in C-level in wide receivers or talent. No, I mean, you're laughing, but I mean, let's keep it buck. I mean, you're not going to get AJ Brown. You're not going to trade. You're not going to trade or sign these top wide receivers because because you use your money for defensive players, and that's what they always do. So it's not like I'm saying something that's out of the ordinary, because that's just what their track record is. So
and I'm not suggesting that they tank. It's not like it's pre-Halloween and I'm saying lose the rest of the way. You got 4 games left. This team is 6-7. We got to look at all the possibilities, right? And you saying like in the realm of possibility of them missing the playoffs, they have an 11% chance to make the playoffs, Darren. Like, it's way more likely that they miss it than they make it.
If people thought like you, then then most of those guys wouldn't even be pro athletes, because what is the percentage of being a pro athlete? Okay. Less than 1. So they'd be like, oh no, it's less than 1%. I'm going to make it. I'm not even going to try. Ask Aaron. I'm not even going to try. No, that's not how they're wired, man. That's why that's why they are where they are. But yeah, until there's zero chance, there's always a chance. Until there isn't a chance.
Ryan, who's your guy in the draft? If Aaron Ladd somehow miraculously lucks up into getting correct and, they do end up with a 15, 12, 13 range, what does that look like?
Well, I think that scenario does look like a package pick, and you do move up. You take your shot because you're within striking distance of a top 10 athlete. And I think because of this class, you have a shot at a top 5 defensive player if you're in the top 10 there. So I would look at that. I do like Bain. I like Height from Texas Tech. He's not a Spags guy, but I like him. But I got to tell you, maybe a little bit more juice off the edge is exactly what this team needs. What's that?
Who do you tag?
Is a top 10 inside? Is a D tackle?
I mean, if you're talking about going from 12 to 8, you could probably do that. Maybe you can get that done for a 3rd round pick. I don't know. Maybe you can do that if you want to get serious. You want to go up into the top 3 and you got to package 2 2s. If it's a guy that you think could turn out to be the next Chris Jones, is it worth it? Some are going to tell you it is. I'm on the fence, but it is out there.
I don't know, man. The Chiefs, the Chiefs strike me as a team. I'm sorry, JT.
No,
the Chiefs
go ahead.
strike me as a team that like to accumulate picks. Now, granted, they might like to accumulate picks to possibly use it to package and maybe move up or whatever. But I think for me, seeing how these contracts are, the Chiefs seem to like to accumulate a lot of draft picks because they feel like they feel like that they can draft well and then play these players on minimum contracts, saying while you're getting certain key players on these max deals or whatever, and you're trying to balance it out. That's how I've seen the Chiefs operate. To me, it seems like since Patrick has signed his big deal.
Except when you got to go get the big deal, right? They had to go up and get Patrick. There are 4 key positions on any football team. You're about to lose your Hall of Fame tight end, right? You got the quarterback. Wide receivers ain't one of them. You got a good corner. You're going to sign him. You got no pass rush if Chris Jones gets another year older, right? If there's anything you got to go get after the quarterback, it's the guy who takes the quarterback.
George Karlaftis, which is what I asked earlier.
You're talking to my shadow.
So with that, do you package picks and get one player, or do you keep the picks? You want to accumulate picks because, like you guys were saying earlier, you think they've got so many holes to plug. You can't plug all those holes with one pack by packaging a bunch of guys and getting one guy. That's one hole. Might be a big hole, but then now you're back in the same boat that you've always been in.
Let's do this because I do have a question, but I know Aaron is trying to be professional and not cut in because I know he has to take us to a break and read a thing. But I do have a question on the other end, so let's go for it, Aaron.
I love this offseason chatter, man. It just, it gives me goosebumps. I absolutely love to see it. We're talking offseason possibilities, but we're going to preview Chiefs Chargers. We'll look at the injury report on the other side of the break. NFL Sundays move fast, one big play, and suddenly everything feels different. That's what makes live betting with FanDuel so exciting. You're not just watching the game, you're reacting to it in real time. With FanDuel, you can place bets as the action unfolds, every drive, every momentum swing, every highlight moment. Live betting is best when the game starts to shift, a receiver gets hot, a defense tightens up, or the momentum flips after a turnover. FanDuel lets you jump into the moment. Live spreads and money lines adjust instantly. Player props update as guys heat up, and you can bet next touchdown scores, drive results, totals, and more. It keeps you locked into every snap, every drive, and every possibility. How about one interesting one? I know y'all gave me crap last week for my pick, so here's one. The Chiefs to score first and lose the game, plus 460 currently on FanDuel if you want to follow me on that one. So if you want to be right in the middle of the action this season, visit FanDuel.com and place your NFL live bets all season long. That is Chiefs to score first and lose, plus 460. FanDuel, the game moves fast, so can you. Back in on the Chief Squad Show here at the Locked On Podcast Network. You like that one, Darren? You gave me crap last week. I went into the lab. I gave it a little bit more of a personal touch this week.
Yeah, I see. You got the Chiefs losing. This is the one question I want to ask before we went to break, and I can't remember if we talked about it briefly on the Sunday postgame, but I know we got Ryan here now, so I do want to toss it out here. We can deliberate for a little bit because I know people have talked about as we were going into training camp and coming out and start the season on how this Chiefs wide receiving core of Hollywood and Rasheed and Xavier, and talked about how Rasheed was top 5 wide receiver. So I never said it, but that was, of course, your guy, Mark Gunnels, Aaron, I'm going to put that on him. But I do want to toss it out there. Are our wide receivers as good as Chiefs Kingdom have been hyping them up as? I mean, because when you start to think about obviously what they got in Dallas, Cincinnati, a couple of these other stops or whatever, in comparison, are we hyping our wide receivers up more than what they really are? I mean, should we look at maybe getting a Cardinal Tate or someone like that in the draft? I mean, if they're available and around wherever we pick up at, Ryan. I mean, I'm gonna just put that out there.
Ryan
especially
Williams.
Especially as you guys were
he's too small.
Especially as you guys are talking
Too
post game
small.
about drops, right? It is starting to be a bit more of a concern that maybe it is a little bit higher than it needs to be. But I would say this, especially if you have a chance, if you miss the playoffs and you were in that somewhere above the 15th pick, you spend that on a wide receiver, I don't think it fixes your problems enough to be warranted right now. So
Okay.
you do have a point, like maybe a second rounder, maybe you make a priority second round, maybe you move around to get 2 in the top 50 to try to accomplish that goal.
Yeah, we know Brett Veach's history with drafting wide receivers in the second round. Let's talk a little injury report here.
Oh, you take a shot at Sky Moore. God.
You don't want to talk about Sky Moore.
Sky Moore.
He's playing well out there in Frisco,
Sky Moore
man.
is having the best season he's ever had out in San
Yeah.
Francisco in multiple categories.
Yeah.
I was always a Sky Moore truther.
He ain't gonna see it no more.
Huh?
I was just saying, at least he got the Super Bowl rings with us because he ain't gonna see no more.
Hey.
Wednesday injury report is live for both of these teams. For Kansas City, it was a DNP for Hollywood Brown for personal reasons. Wanye Morris, I believe the report is he's out for the year with a knee injury. And Juwan Taylor still not practicing with triceps and knee injuries. Trent McDuffie, your guy, JC, limited with the knee injury. We'll monitor his availability. For the Chargers, also some lengthy injuries. The hand injury for Justin Herbert. Ladd McConkey with the foot was limited. And then Will Dissly, some other guys. We will keep our eyes on the injury reports for LA. But is there any big takeaway from week one? I kind of hate week one in the NFL, to be honest with you. That game, especially first game of the year, your team usually week one is not who they end up being right around now. Week 15, these are completely different identities, in my opinion. KC had a lot of points. Hollywood Brown got a lot of targets in this one, obviously, after Xavier Worthy went down on the first play. Are we taking anything from week one in the matchup there? Or are we just saying KC's at desperation mode, back against the wall? They're going to throw everything in the kitchen sink at their division foe.
The only thing I'll say is that, I mean, we don't know how Xavier would have looked in that game, but he hasn't been the same since his first game back when they kind of force fed him the ball, but he hasn't really been the same receiver since. So, I mean, that would be my biggest takeaway. And the Chiefs' identity, I guess, has been questioned since then. So those two.
Yeah,
I hope they remember.
Go ahead, Ryan.
Oh, I'm sorry, JC.
No, go ahead.
I hope they remember, because I still feel like that game, that trip to Brazil to play that team, set them on a path that ruined the whole first half of the season. Mm-hmm. It might even have ruined the entire season, because look at what they did after the bye. They were atypical for their return from the bye, and even since then. And I can't say it's the Chargers' fault. I think the NFL sending them to Brazil is something they probably don't want to do again. But I would hold it against the Chargers just for motivational work here, right? Put it back on the board. These are the guys that screwed it up from the beginning. I would have it out for them.
And Ryan, just so you know, they would go once again. So
to Brazil.
Would.
The Chiefs want to travel all over the world. Yes. Brazil, Ireland, Germany.
It's all about the mighty dollar.
Yeah, I'm not convinced the players agree.
Yeah, exactly. Right. But I mean, they don't need any more motivation of who they're playing, whatever than what the situation that they've gotten themselves in. So, it's a long time from week 1 to week 15. A lot of the personnel is the same. You see if they're changing up scheme wise and what they're doing and, how they're playing now. But, these teams know each other. They've been playing each other for a long time. And, Harbaugh, they know Harbaugh, they know Herbert, they know the Chiefs. And, it's going to be another one of those AFC battles. And, hopefully the Chiefs make the plays this week to pull it out, because, there's not, you're not going to trick them. They're not going to trick you. It's the main guys are still the main guys.
Maybe the trend from week 1 that we'd like to see change. Patrick Mahomes, 6 carries for 57 yards on the score in that week 1 matchup. He was the team's leading rusher. I'll go ahead and stamp my bingo card in our second segment here, third segment. You got to run the ball effectively. Somebody other than Mahomes has got to be your leading rusher. You can't be one-dimensional. You got to stay ahead of the chains. I've said it on and on and on, and this team has continued to not listen to me. So maybe I'll scream it from the mountaintops just one more time with their back against the wall. Somebody else has got to stand up in the running game.
You hope so, but hey, at this point, you do what you got to do. and
Yeah.
I mean that's just
disagree.
the
I
situation
disagree.
they're in. That's
Because
the
let
situation
Pat,
they're in right
if
now.
Pat runs and gets hurt in the 6 and 7 year, and now you lose half of next year, it's like, what are we doing, man?
What
are
kind
we
of
really
what kind?
out here?
Why are you wishing that
Pat
kind of
can get
injury on
Pat
him?
can get hurt just taking a sack, bro. I mean, this is football, man.
Yeah.
First of all, you can't play scary because that's how you get hurt. But man, I'm gonna be
Oh, but
honest, man.
he didn't play any sports though, Darren.
Oh yeah,
So
that's
like, if you can't, if you trip on a curb, you hit a curb, right, and fall down while you're running a marathon, you might scrape your knee or something. But
I love the role y'all put me in onto this podcast. I'll take it. I'll wear it proudly. One day they'll know the name. Omarion Hampton is back for the Chargers. He played last week, missed a lot of time. He's an impact running back for them, as well as Kamani Vidal. Obviously, they have McConkey, Quentin Johnston, and Keenan Allen. They're wide receivers. Any of those guys scare you as far as Kansas? Well, obviously, you're mentioning with Trent McDuffie and monitoring his status. If he's unable to go, that is kind of a three-headed monster in a way. And they like to target the tight end as well, Gadsden.
Yeah, they've got 4 guys. Yeah, all those guys have over 500 yards receiving. He throws to all of them. So, you're going to have to match up. And again, like I said, they know us, we know them, and we need to have Trent out there in some capacity. Because Keenan is not a guy that's going to run away from you, but he's a guy that's that wily vet that runs great routes, great hands, and then they've got the speed guys, and so and then the tight end, like you always say, we've had trouble with tight ends, so these guys, and we've always given Harbaugh credit, so these guys are going to be ready to play.
And look, and I think Ryan or somebody said earlier that the Chiefs remember Week 1. Well, they also remember the Super Bowl, and we saw that turned out when they faced Philly again. So, yeah, I mean, time for talking is way past done. Because again, they talked about it coming out of Dallas loss, how the playoffs started for them and it was a must-win game against Houston, and somehow, some way, they found a way to lose that game. So it's really hard to not take them at their word, but it's just I mean, I don't know. I guess because I have to hold out hope because I enjoy my Super Bowl trips. That this is just that these players will come around and do what needs to be done Sunday. But look, I'll put it like this: if Andy Reid starts to call something in play like he did on that 4th and 1, then hopefully all the Chiefs Kingdom, will rise up and walk out. But I will say this though, I do hope at the end of the season, regardless of how it plays out, I hope that hope Andy and company does some real soul searching, because we thought after the Super Bowl, by them not even attempting to run the football against the Eagles, and Andy had to come up at the combine talking about, that was one of their regrets. Hopefully, however the season turns out, that whatever they feel like they did wrong, that they're going to correct this time around, that they actually stick to it this time around.
One more aspect of the Chargers that I want to mention, we're talking about Charger Scout. They have an elite kicker. And once they get in field goal range, he's pretty much automatic. Cameron Dicker, 5 for 5 on Monday night. He has a 93.8 percentage over his career, which is by far the best in the NFL. It's quite a dichotomy. And my guy C-Dot tweeted this out during the game. KC's got the most expensive kicker in the league, and we got questions over him. On the other side, LA's automatic once they get in his field goal range, which I think is close to 60 plus.
Man, what happened though, man? Because we used to think about Butker like that, right? I mean, automatic, right? I mean, what happened? Golly, I mean,
there's no trip to the Super Bowl on the line, I guess, because that's the only thing I can think of, man. Seriously, I mean, you put him up against Cincinnati in the AFC Championship game, he can make the kick. The game that now look, he's not someone I would have kick for me, game for my life or whatever like that. I ain't doing that. But
he used to be. Man. I mean, we used to think about him like Aaron was just talking about the Charger guy. I mean, we used to have the utmost of confidence in Butker, but man, I just don't know what happened this year. I guess
I don't think it's just this year either. Like the knee was bothering him last year, right? He was going down on the knee all the time. I think age does catch up, even with kickers. And maybe it's because he's maybe built atypically. He's a lot longer than a normal kicker. You know what I mean? So
He
maybe
is
those
tall.
joints. Yeah, right. So maybe those joints are wearing out a little bit quicker.
Yeah,
I'm
but
5'11". Harrison towers over me when we do our
yeah.
interviews. He's got to
Do
be
you
every
think they,
bit.
that they should have thought about that before they gave him all that money too, right? But yeah,
I mean, but you know what? Though I can't really be mad at them because I mean, they pay Christian. I mean, you kind of get paid off of what you did and what they expect you to do. I mean, when they paid him the money, I think it was 2 years ago that he signed the extension. I mean, it wasn't. I mean, he earned it last year. I mean, this year not so much. I mean, because I can say the same thing for Chris Jones. Chris Jones played well last year. He ain't done nothing this season. So I mean, I can't just throw Harrison underneath the bus by himself. That's my guy. Chris is too. So. There's room for all of them. George Karlaftis as well.
Everybody's your guy, Darren. We know.
Yeah,
Let's take our last break here on the Chiefs Squad Show. We
gotta hold them accountable.
We'll talk some Chargers defense, and then we'll talk a late season surge. Ryan wants to know, is it playoffs or pride Kansas City is playing for the rest of the way? One more break. We'll see you on the other side. Final segment here on the Chiefs Squad Show on the Locked On Podcast Network. Aaron Ladd, JC Pearson, Ryan Tracy, and Darren Smith previewing this Week 15 matchup between the Chiefs and the Chargers. Didn't get a chance to mention some standouts on the Chargers D. I'll do that now. Denzel Perriman, Khalil Mack, Derwin James. Any of those guys make you nervous against a patchwork offensive line, Ryan?
Not particularly, not after what I saw last week. I'm encouraged. It looks like Trey Smith is likely going to be available. I think that's the big bonus here. But I mean, Derwin's probably the most dangerous of those players, in my opinion. But I don't know that his age is not caught up with him either. So I feel comfortable with where they're at, the offense in terms of the matchups.
I'll say this: for me, Khalil Mack is still Khalil Mack. I'm not disrespecting him one bit. So.
Perriman, Tuilapotu, or however you say his name, and Derwin James, because I would expect that that Kelsey is gonna want to come back and have a huge game this week after the way it ended last week. But
and he always seems to have a big game against the Chargers, JC.
But the problem is the thing is Perriman. I mean, God, just slipped my name. Derwin James. Yeah. Derwin James is the guy that really plays him the toughest because he's big enough and strong enough to be physical with them, and he can run with them. So yeah, it's not the best matchup for Travis to come back and have a huge game, but I would expect him to really come back and be super motivated to make to make an impression this week.
Then they probably talked to us in the locker room after the game.
That really rubbed you the wrong way, huh?
No, it didn't bother me because I wasn't trying to talk to him. Well, first of all, I knew he wasn't going to talk, so it didn't bother me at all. Trust me, when when you Aaron and you make it like you don't notice, but when you're in the tunnel and especially after loss, when they come up, you can look at their face and see he ain't gonna talk, and they leave it to a lot of the younger
same
players,
cast of crew,
Aaliyah Chanel, Nia, Nick Bolton. Trent really couldn't talk because I guess he was injured, but but I'm saying those players will talk because they don't know any better. But you get to Chris Jones and Travis, I mean that's they're not gonna talk.
How do you guys feel about that, though?
Well, it's a problem because A and JC, it's in the contract. You have to make yourself now. Here, this is what I try to tell other media people that what I try to explain to them. They just have to make themselves available to talk. They can say that they don't want to talk or no comment, and that's good enough. You know what I'm saying? Or how it works here. A lot of players they'll talk to me and Steve, and then bolt out the back door because they would have essentially handled their response because they spoke to the media, whether it's the Star or anybody else. But, I get it because, Travis being the Hall of Famer, team captain, you need as one of your responsibilities, you need to talk to the media because if you did well, you would have been at the locker, talking to the media. But then, when you don't do well, you don't talk to the media, but you run to your podcast, New Heights, and talk about the game. But there's nobody going back and forth with you, holding you accountable. So,
There is only one NFL team projected and favored by 4 or more points in the rest of its games, and that is the Kansas City Chiefs. Ryan Tracy posed this question in our chat. He said, is it going to be pride or playoffs that pushes them to this late season surge? I don't believe it.
Hold on here. Did you say Kansas City is favored in the last 4 games?
This is part of my notes. I do a little pre-production. There is only one NFL team projected to be favored by 4 or more in the rest of its games. That's from 4 for 4 bets on X, and it's the Chiefs. That was a hat tip from our guy Jesse Newell, who covers them for The Athletic.
Okay.
Broncos will be sitting their players down come Christmas because I can't. Interesting.
Well, home games you usually get 3, right?
No,
home
I
games
get
you
it.
usually get 3 points at home.
I get it. It just, okay.
I think people are also assuming the Chiefs are throwing everything at the wall. I think people are assuming that the Chiefs are going to play their best ball down the stretch. I don't know why they would assume that, but I think that's maybe the
wall as it is. They've been throwing everything at the wall as it is, and they've been working.
Wow. I think that's the big question, though, is given the failures, especially of last week, when you did try to make that jump and take your play up, what do you got left? Because there's a lot of players in this locker room that are not used to losing. There's a whole class of the Fab Five that don't know what it's like to not be a playoff team, not be an AFC Championship participant, right? So, what do you learn from that, and how do you come back? That's what I want to see.
You know what, Ryan? That's a good point, and I think I brought that up Sunday too, post game, because a lot of these players, at least a lot of the younger ones, all they know is success. Outside the team that and even those that were rookies last year, you at least got to the Super Bowl and got you a little bit of hardware in the AFC Championship ring. So so really, there's not too many players outside of a Chris Jones, Travis. You look at Bucker, Winchester, some of those younger players that was here in 2017, granted Kareem was here, but he wasn't here for the ride. But that 2018, 19, 20, especially when you had the highs and the lows and losing to Cincinnati, okay, in that area, you had Trade, you had a Creed that was here their rookie year for that. But a lot of them didn't go through that 3 and 4 season where they had the big blowout loss to Tennessee and then ended up running the table, losing to Cincinnati towards the end of the season and losing to Cincinnati in the AFC Championship game. So, so for me, I need to know, how do you deal with adversity? That's what I need to know, because right now this is some adverse times, and right now you're failing, and that's what I need to see. So I'm kind of with Ryan. Yes, you're playing to win, but you also got to show some pride in this matter, because these last 4 games are going to tell me a lot more about you as a player than anything else.
Yeah, I agree with that.
No, JC, go ahead.
Yeah, I agree with that. And, when you look back over the years, you talk about these young guys who only know, Super Bowls and AFC championships. It's not like they always played well, but somebody made a play to bail them out. So they all, they feel like 15's going to make a play. Somebody's going to make a play, because, it's not like they all balled out. Some of them made some mistakes, but now the margin for error is so slim, and 15 is not bailing them out now. Now everybody's kind of getting exposed a little bit. And now, all the little mistakes are being magnified, and you're seeing who really can make the plays for you when you need to make them, and who's gonna make them, and who's gonna stand up and play well, and who's not. So yeah, at this point, everybody has to be evaluated to get back to where you want to be.
The Chiefs have won 7 of their last 8 against the Chargers. Patrick Mahomes is 10-3 in the regular season against LA with 28 touchdowns and 7 interceptions. Let's just go around the horn with our predictions. I'll go first. Chargers.
That's it.
That's it, huh? Yeah. Hey, I'm riding.
I can't go back.
Why did you show up to the game Sunday?
I can't go back, man. I went against my better judgment. I thought they were going to blow out the Cowboys. They embarrassed me. I actually don't think Kansas City is going to lose out the rest of the way. I do think they're going to win at least a couple of these games, but I can't pick it. I've already chose my side, and I've already chose who I'm going to be the rest of the way on this platform. Give me Herbert.
I'm riding with the boys until they're, till it's over. But again, I think if they just, like I've been saying all the time, they just clean up a couple things, make a couple plays here or there, man, they're right there. They are as good as anyone. And in particular, the Chargers. And, I feel like they're going to find a way to pull this one out and just keep everyone kind of excited week by week.
Andy doesn't like his play calling being questioned. I think he's going to get in his bag for some stuff Sunday. And I mean, I'm going to be honest, I think the weather's going to play a factor, man. When you play in the dome and you in California, you ain't trying to be out. I mean, it's like Miami coming here during the play. I mean, you don't want to be the first thing JC, come on, JC,
I know I didn't like the weather. I didn't like playing the cold.
No. But I'm saying for a team that's coming from like from like Florida or California, when they come out there, only thing they think about is how cold and how long before the game is over, so they can get back on the bus, get back on the plane, and get back home.
Yeah, that's true, because I know we used to think about that. Look at the schedule. If we're going to Green Bay, going somewhere cold, you look at those
December,
things, no doubt. And I'm sure for them, they're looking to see, hoping they don't go to Kansas City late in the year, but here they are.
It's the AFC West. It's going to be close. It's going to be infuriating in some way, right? Yeah. I think in the end, this team, the Chargers, being just a pain, somebody that you've been beating, and they kind of set everything straight at the beginning of the season. I think there is a revenge factor here, at least for some of these players. I think in the end, they bow up and they do take this one. They might have to come from behind. In fact, I will say it this way, and I'll give you the prediction this week.
Hey,
detail on Friday.
I
think Butker has to win it. See, I'm here for you guys. I think Butker has to win it, and the Chiefs do get it done last second, 23-20.
Ooh, this mofo.
There you go.
Butker winning it. Oh, Lord.
Can you imagine
Butker kick
a last second kick Butker? And can you imagine what people will be some people will be excited. Some people will be saying, "Oh no!"
Okay. So I got to ask. So is the score tied, and he just happens to kick the winning field goal? And if he misses it, we go in overtime, or what?
Nope, they're down 21-23, and he got to win it. Period.
Yeah, I don't know if
Harrison, if you listen to this, you're welcome.
Yeah, I don't want to see that scenario. Though.
I mean, what's what's going to happen, because they had a graphic out there. Everybody gonna be on their phones placing them bets, see whether or not he makes that kick. I'm telling you.
No, you know what happened, man. Ryan's seen the script already. Man,
I know.
Everything is scripted. Ryan already saw the script. He's just letting us know.
They had over 40,000 bets being placed at Arrowhead Sunday night.
How many of them were using your promo code?
I have not enough. I put it like that. Not enough. But I don't want to. I know myself.
Let them go.
Steve, Alex, Rob Collins. We were Dennis Evans. We were all of with all the press box.
Are y'all allowed to do that? That's not against the rules.
Yeah, ain't no rules. Nah, we ain't bold to that. Nah,
you can't cheer, but you can bet.
Yeah,
hey.
Man,
first of all, the only thing the Chiefs have ever said, at least, and what they said to me was, Darren, do not talk to our players about what you need. I said that's fine, and I've told the story when the Chiefs faced against the Raiders. I think it was a Monday night game. Travis Kelce had like four touchdown catches or 4 touchdowns and like 25 yards receiving. And I need him to get like 76, and Patrick missed him on a deep pass, and he cost me like $5,000, man. And so they won the game, of course, but we get to the season, the last week of the season, we talking to Kelce right before we go to Vegas. He's like, and I said, Kelce, you plan on having a better game than what you had before? He said, yeah, man. He said, I did only have 4 touchdowns. I said, yeah, that's all you had. I said it out loud, and Kelce there, I was like, damn. I was like, because I'm like, best my parlay slip up. I just had to say what I had to say. So no, it's it is what it is, man. They know what time it is.
The Chief Squad Show will be back post-game Sunday. I don't know if Darren will still be a credentialed media member at that point in time. Maybe we.
I don't know either.
Hope so. We go live on the Chief Squad Show and the Locked On Podcast Network YouTube page. As soon as the game goes 000, we'd love to have you there right after us. The Daily Show, Ryan Tracy, Chris Clark, and Matt Derrick. Any final thoughts, fellas, before we get out of here? This was a good show.
Man,
No,
Chiefs
man.
gotta get back on the field.
Hey, I hope Ryan got the right script. I'm with it.
Airmail. We're good.
I mean, I'm with it. I'm just saying. I just saying with the last second field goal. You know,
I gotta find some powder blue or something from my outfit on.
Oh, he's gonna go there too. Damn.
Yeah.
It's easy to do that when you ain't in Kansas City.
All right. Thank you so much for joining us in this episode. We will see y'all after the game.
Powder blue.